Good Friday evening and welcome to Closing Arguments. I'm Ted Rollins in for Vinny tonight. The Minneapolis jury that will end up deciding the fate of former police officer Kim Potter was told way back during jury selection that they would hear from the defendant, the woman that shot and killed 20-year-old Daunte Wright. Well, today, as promised, she took the stand in her own defense.
And did you hear what Officer Lucky said?
Yes, I heard him ask the driver to step out of the vehicle a couple of times.
And did the driver step out of the vehicle finally?
Finally, he asked Officer Lucky a couple of times what was going on, and Officer Lucky said he would explain to him.
When he got out of the car?
Yes.
And so did the driver get out of the car?
Yes.
And what do you remember happening next?
Officer Lucky had him turn around, and I think he was still asking what was going on. Sergeant John.
Who's he?
The driver.
Go ahead.
And Sergeant Johnson and Lucky told him he was under arrest, and I told him he had a warrant.
Okay, so who said he was under arrest first?
Sergeant Johnson, I believe.
And Sergeant Johnson testified here. You remember that?
Yes.
And after he said that, did Officer Lucky say he's under arrest too?
Yes.
And you heard that?
Yes.
And what did you say then?
I told him he had a I told him he had a warrant.
You just said warrant?
I think so.
Did you specify what kind of warrant, if you remember? If you don't?
I don't think I would have. It wouldn't have been in my normal.
Okay, so what happened after Johnson and Lucky said you're going to be handcuffed or you're under arrest, and you said that there was a warrant? What happened next?
Officer Lucky had him put his hands behind his back, and I noticed that in the driver's right hand was something. It was paper or something, and I took it out of his hand and had it in my left hand.
And you had that in your left hand?
Yes.
And then what happened next? Why strike that? When you did that, I take it you got closer to the driver?
Yes. I reached into the driver's hand and took out what he had in his right hand.
Right hand or left hand?
His right hand, and I held it in my left hand.
Okay. What happened next?
Officer Lucky started to say something about, don't do that, don't tense up, stop doing that. And then it just went chaotic.
What do you remember happening after that?
I remember a struggle with Officer Lucky and the driver at the door. The driver was trying to get back into the car.
Well, he was trying to get back in the car. What did you do?
I went around Officer Lucky as they're trying to get back in the door. I'm between the door and Officer Lucky and the driver. And the driver's getting into the car.
And what happened next?
They're still struggling, and I can see Sergeant Johnson and the driver struggling over the gear shift, because I can see Johnson's hand, and then I can see his face.
And you knew Johnson for many years before this, is that right?
Yes.
And by looking at his face at that point in time, what did you interpret it to mean?
He had a look of fear on his face. It's nothing I'd seen before.
Did you say anything when you saw this? What did you do?
We were struggling. We were trying to keep him from driving away. It just went chaotic. And then I remember yelling, "Taser, taser, taser," and nothing happened. And then he told me I shot him.
Can you proceed, or you?
Yes, it's fine.
Kim Potter on direct. Let's bring in the think tank joining us tonight in New York City. Former senior homicide prosecutor Bernarda Villalon, and in Cleveland, Ohio, criminal defense attorney Ian Friedman, and out west in San Diego, California, Brian Watkins is with us, former prosecutor, defense attorney. Good evening to all of you. Bernarda, to you first on this. So direct, you know, kind of as expected. She gets a little emotional at one point. Overall, though, did, in your estimation, they get enough out of her on direct? And your overall thoughts on her testimony today? This is big.
Look, Ted, in terms of King Potter's testimony, she's lucky that I'm not on the jury and you don't have a New Yorker like myself on that jury, because to me, I did not find it to be credible or believable. I found this to be a performance. Doing direct examination, in terms of her crying, I didn't see a tear come rolling down her face. I think it was very well timed. Also, it was like a Jekyll and Hyde experience, because during the direct examination, she wanted to come off all emotional and sentimental. But then doing cross-examination, she had attitude. She was being defiant. I think she was dodging the question. So to see her, two different people doing direct and cross-examination, it didn't do it for me. And, you know, for me, what hurt me in terms of her testimony was like when she was asked the question of, isn't your gun heavier than your taser? And she said, I don't know. Like, come on now. The simple stuff you can't admit to.
All right, Bernarda with a come on, man. Ian, what about, you're kind of in the Midwest in Ohio there. You're not as brash maybe as a New Yorker. Your thoughts, did she connect? And it's hard because we're not in the room, right? We're not in the courtroom. We don't know what kind of relationship she's built. But overall, from our view, your view, do you think she connected?
So it's hard to tell, right? What these jurors were thinking. But what this highlights for me is, and I looked at a lot of the social media responses and so forth, people are looking at this testimony, as Bernarda just did, looking at the tears, looking at, certain things. But the words here, the testimony, the facts here, I think are compelling. And I do think that they set an absolute defense here. The problem's going to be whether or not what she said is going to be overshadowed by how it was said. And this is where I always caution young lawyers. Because jurors get up there and they think, well, if I were on the stand, this is the way that I would do it, or she should have looked this way, she should have answered that way, she should have had more tears. Who knows how they would be if they were on the stand? And that's the thing here. I disagree, Bernarda, with you on this one, because, here she is, never being in the situation before. And during the direct exam, people are not nervous about the direct exam. They're talking to the lawyer that they've known for years. And they tense up. She's never done this before. She's never been on the world stage for murder where she expects a professional prosecutor to be coming at her. Here's someone, she's a police officer, but she's on guard, she's defensive, she's worried. She's going against a woman who cross-examined her, who wants to put her into prison. Of course she's going to act differently than she would when she's responding to Earl Grey or Paul Eng. So, I think it's going to be incumbent now upon the defense lawyers to really bring it home during closing argument to say, look, listen to what she said, and don't expect that she's going to be an expert, just like you don't know how you would be on the stand. So there's a lot there to sort through. We'll see what happens.
Brian?
I liked her testimony. I thought it was genuine. And we got to look at it like this. What's the other side of the story? What's the converse? This is all a cover-up. She intentionally murdered him, and now this is all the taser comments, and the testimony is all a big charade, a big cover-up to cover up the fact that she murdered him. I think that story, that narrative right there is far-fetched. Clearly, this was an accident. Clearly, like, if you can just look at this woman and say, how would she respond in a physical fight and a confrontation with a young, strong guy? Would she be panicked? Would she be freaked out? Absolutely, she would be. Could she be in a situation where she could do the wrong thing and pull her a gun instead of her taser? Absolutely. I believe that she could be in that situation. I believe that she was in that situation. So to say that this is all a charade, I think is a far-fetched argument.
What about the Johnson element? And what I'm talking about is Officer Johnson in the passenger side of the vehicle. If you look at the video from Kim Potter's body cam, Johnson doesn't seem to be a player in it. And you look at the other angle. Johnson, from her angle, maybe isn't a big player in it. He gets up there on the stand, though, during the case in chief for the state, and he says, yeah, she kind of saved my life. And afterwards, on Batacam, he comes over there and he says, hey, don't worry. You saved me. You saved me. At that moment, Bernarda, did you buy her saying that I looked into Johnson's eyes and saw fear as I'd never seen before? Because a lot of people didn't buy it.
Now, Ted, you know me better than that. Now, you know I called bull when she said that. In terms of, oh my God, I saw a fear that I recognized in his face. Woman, you did not see his face. Aside from that, Sergeant Johnson testified last week, Friday, just a week ago, and at no point did Sergeant Johnson come off or even say that he was in fear for his life. So I think that point right there did not come off credible to me. I'm sorry. It just did not. Maybe I'm being harsh, but I've been doing this for so many years, and I just didn't believe her.
You're jaded. First, let's listen to or read a little bit from the legal team for Daunte Wright's family. They issued a statement after today's testimony and said this is part of it. While the defense attempted to garner sympathy today through Kim Potter's testimony, we want to stress how misplaced that sympathy would be. As the defense rests and we look ahead to jury deliberations and a verdict, we must not forget that Daunte's parents, his extended family, and his child are facing another holiday without him, and it's because of the reckless and tragic choices made by former Officer Potter and failures by the Brooklyn Center Police Department in training and development of their police force. Ian, that point that she wasn't trained properly, training's been a big part of the case. Do you think it's going to be a big part of the decision-making process for this jury at the end of the day, one way or another, that, yes, she was trained, should have known better, or maybe she wasn't trained as well as she should have been? Today she made an off comment saying, yeah, we learned that people make mistakes with this, but it was never accentuated.
Sure. So, Ted, I think that training will certainly come into play, but they're going to ask, did she act in accordance with her training? It's also going to be a big issue in the civil action, which certainly will come after this. But I think here, I'm looking at the training a little bit different. While they're trained, I'm looking at, not did she act in accordance with her training, but really, as some of the experts talked about, despite that training, what's really not given is, it's one thing if you do the training and it's not a real life situation. That's very different from when you are actually in a situation like this, like we're watching on the screen. Something happens in a second. Guns are drawn, people's lives are in jeopardy, and everything happens so quick. It's very different than your training. And so when they sit there and they can do it in the classroom, they can do it out on the field, they can do it with a training officer at their shoulder, that only prepares them so much for the real life situation. And then they get in it, and that's why we see these situations as we do. Here on this case, she made a mistake. This was her first real life situation. It's the first time in 26 years she drew her gun, and it's very different than the thousands of times that she drew it on a shooting range. And that what really has to be driven home with the jury here, is that police officers are people also, and when they find themselves here, you hope the training works, but sometimes that human effect really is what occurs, and that's what we see here.
We did see some emotion on direct examination, but it was the cross-examination where it really came out. Coming up, the cross. It was intense. That's next.